Hey guys, it's Steven from Fratelli, and today I'm behind the wheel of my 2018 Camaro SS 1LE. So I got this car because I really wanted a car that I could take on the track, drive on the road. It's gonna work, it's not gonna break down, and looked at a lot of different things before I bought this. Was looking at used Porsches because just frankly I couldn't afford a new one, and also looking at cars on the lower end of the spectrum that maybe needed a few upgrades to be track ready, upgraded brakes and wheels and tires, that sort of stuff. But when I sharpened my pencil, it really seemed like the best bang for the buck was this Camaro with the 1LE track package. So just so for those of you that are not as familiar with the package, it is the same engine as the base SS, which is a very powerful V8. It's 455 horsepower, 455 pound-foot of torque, all naturally aspirated, no turbos, no superchargers, really amazing engine. But with the 1LE track package, you get first additional cooling on the car so you can run that heavy engine on the track, not worrying about things overheating. You get upgraded brakes, upgraded suspension. It does have that magnetic shock ride control, which allows you to change the suspension settings, which is really cool. It also has dual mode exhaust. Probably forgetting some other stuff. I think that's pretty much it on the performance piece. I'll list it out if I left anything out. Also, you get these suede wraps on the shifter and on the steering wheel. Also comes with Recaro racing seats, which are really great. So that's another part of the package. They're really ready to just jump on the track. They're not full racing seats, but really good for an intermediate driver or someone who's just a weekend warrior at the track. So while we're driving slow through this neighborhood here, we'll go and tell you a little bit about the ownership of the car. I did purchase it brand new. I did order it, so I only got 3 options after the 1LE track package. The one cosmetic thing I got was the bow tie emblem in black, so I just thought the car would look funny with everything white black and that gold badge in the front. Also with the 1LE track package, nothing related to performance really. There is a matte black wrapped hood. There is also a little rear deck spoiler and a front splitter also in matte black. Same with the windows. So that's why I got the bow tie in black too, just to match all of that. I also got an upgraded thing on the pedals, the racing pedals, so just a little bit better feel and grip there versus standard driving pedals. Also, the one other thing I got was a strut tower bar across the engine bay just to stiffen the suspension a bit more. Again, was planning on really using this car for track purposes, so hyper focused on driving performance. Didn't do anything else to the car to keep the price down. And the sticker price on the car was $45,500. There was actually a manufacturer rebate at the time, so I got a little bit off from that, and then the dealer gave me a little bit of a price as well. So I got the car for around $41,000, which was pretty amazing considering the performance of this thing. So in terms of the car and owning it, I have had an issue with it. So the air conditioning stopped working about 1,500 miles. They said it was a freon leak. I had to bring it in a couple times. They couldn't diagnose this. They wound up putting in a new ECM in the car, which apparently was causing the issue. The car was in the shop for several weeks last summer. Now, quick caveat there, I wound up taking it to another dealer and they straightened it out pretty quickly. All these dealers are independently owned, so you can have a bad experience of one and great another, so that's not necessarily a reflection of Chevy. That being said, I did have a bad experience with that. I was very frustrating. This car comes with summer-only Goodyear Eagle F1 tires. It's not very drivable in the winter, so I was really bummed to have the car in the shop for a few weeks during the summer when I was intending to drive it. While we're on the topic of bad things of the car, one thing you'll see a lot of reviews on is the visibility. The forward and side visibility of the car is pretty limited. That is something to consider just for everyday driving. It is a bit of a pain, although you do get used to it after a while. However, one thing that's really noticeable is if you're up at a stoplight, you need to look under like this to see if when the light turns green. So that could get annoying on a daily driver. Rear visibility, though, I think is pretty standard for a sports car. I don't really have any issues there. In terms of the ride, I have it in touring mode right now, and it's really, especially on a highway, a very comfortable car. Comes standard with Apple CarPlay, so plug in your phone and everything works, and it's really a comfortable cruising car on the highway and really not doesn't beat you up at all. However, though, at lower speeds and on uneven surfaces, the chassis is very stiff. So even in touring mode, the rear wheel comes off the ground when you're entering certain driveways and stuff. That being said, I haven't scraped the front of the car on anything, even though it is a pretty low car. But with that stiff chassis, I have had issues where the wheels come off the ground, the traction control goes bonkers, the ABS goes off, all that stuff. It sounds like the car is grinding. It's not, but it's not a pleasant or fun experience. So we have it in touring mode now. I'm going to go ahead and pop it into sport. It does have a track mode as well. I find the steering and the gas throttle best in sport mode. The track mode does open the exhaust a bit more as well, I believe, but sport mode really covers all the bases for fun driving. And we can go ahead and open the window a little bit. You're gonna get mostly wind noise probably, but it also has the active rev match, which I have on. We'll just downshift it, get a little blip. Now this car is not stupid fast, but it is fast. So you do need to be careful, especially when the tires aren't warmed up, so we're not going to go too crazy today. It is a rather cool day. We're also driving through the nice part of town. Cops already gave me a dirty look when I was doing the speed limit, so we'll take it easy today. Yeah, not like ludicrous fast like some cars that are out there today, but you know, it is a fast car, so you do need to be careful with it. I have the 6-speed transmission, again with the rev match. It's really fun to drive. I'm not going to be beating on it really right now or talking too much about the performance in this video. We'll do that in another, but definitely more than enough. This biker here is going to be careful. And a truck. Safety first, folks, safety first. While we're slowing down here, let's talk a little bit more about the grip. So ton of front end grip in the car when the tires are warm. It's got really wide tires in the front. The handling and suspension on this car are nuts, especially for the price point. I will say though, it is a bit heavy of a car, so you do feel the heft under really heavy braking or really tight cornering. But if you're in like a sweeper turn, the thing really grips and sticks. Again, I've tracked the car. I was out there with the Porsche Club. This thing kept up and then some with a lot of, you know, high-end Porsches. So really happy with the performance of the car. The weight is something, and the size of the car was something I knew going into it. It does have a back seat. These are, you know, bigger cars, especially compared to the Corvette. But for the performance and the price, I just really couldn't beat it and was happy to make those sacrifices. That being said, the extra size too, there is trunk space and a back seat, so not really usable for an adult human, but you can put things in there. Storage in the car is pretty practical. So on that point, we're going to slow down a little bit. I'm going to turn it around again and just talk about the everyday driving of the car. So is this car an everyday driver? The short answer I'll say is no. For me, especially because I live in the New York area, the winters, the tires don't work. I'd have to get a whole nother set of wheels, which is not a complete deal breaker, but you know, if you have a garage where you can keep another set of wheels, that's doable. But it does have low ground clearance, so if there is snow and stuff on the road, it's not really ideal for that. Also, like I mentioned earlier, just driving it every day around town with the visibility, looking up at the stoplights, your wheels coming off the ground when you're entering and exiting driveways, that is a little tiresome for everyday driving. I do live in the city. Keep the car in my parents' house on Long Island in the winter. But when you're driving the car, I'm going to just stop for a minute. There's pebbles here and it's making a lot of noise. But when you're driving in the city, it is a wide car that's a little hard to see out of. It's not the most comfortable driving in the city, I will say. So if you're a single guy in a area where there is not bad weather, or if there is bad weather, you get another set of wheels and you're not in a lot of traffic or at a lot of lights and things like that, it is very comfortable. As I mentioned earlier, super comfortable on the highway. On a long drive, I was actually very surprised. We drove this car, my girlfriend and I, out to Ohio from the New York City area, and it was a very comfortable drive. She complained that the seats don't recline all the way, but you know, what are you gonna do? So again, we're at a stoplight and gotta do this whole thing. There is a nice straightaway up here, so if it's clear, we'll get a little bit of a pull. Okay. truck up there, so I'm going to give him a little space, get a little gap here. In sport mode, I also have the active rev match on. Alright, I'm at third at around 2,000 RPM. I get a little bit more of a gap, and then I'm going to drop it down to second. Woo! Close the window now so you can hear me, but that doesn't get old. Car pulls, torqued for days, like I said earlier. Love the car, really fun.